Hey kids, so today we're gonna do another fun art project. You're gonna need some paper. See, all I have is a piece of vanilla colored construction paper, and that's perfectly fine. Use some kind of blank paper. Then I'm gonna use watercolor, a pencil, a dark green crayon, a blue crayon, and either a yellow or pink crayon. You get to decide which one you're gonna use. I'm gonna use pink since my paper is kind of already yellow. And here we go. So then of course you need a paintbrush. I like to put my paper on a napkin or some kind of scrap paper because sometimes when you use watercolor, it bleeds through onto the table. And then of course, a really tiny cup of water. Just like in class when you're with me in the building, I really don't give you that much water, just a little tiny bit. So I'm gonna put my paintbrushes upside down so that they're nice and moist for when I need to use them. And I have an extra piece of paper towel here in case I need to dry off my brushes a little bit if they're too wet. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do a directed draw. I'm gonna draw and you're gonna copy me. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my hand and I'm gonna place it right here on my paper. And I want you to make a mark on either side of your hand, just like that. Then you're gonna take these and you're gonna make a little stem going up. This is gonna be our flower pot. And if you think about it, if any of you play Mario Brothers, we're gonna make it look like one of those little pipes that he kind of dives into. So at the top of each of these, we're gonna make a really small line on each one facing out, and it almost looks like little birdie feet kind of facing outward. From there, we're gonna make another small little line facing up, and then we're gonna connect them. And so, as you can see, we have quite a bit of our paper used to do this. Then we're gonna take our pencil and we're gonna make a really tall rainbow. Just like that. You can start at each of the stem parts of your flower pot. So make a really tall rainbow. And now we're gonna try to kind of make it look like a pumpkin. So we're gonna go up to the top and we're gonna make our little lines coming down from each side. So it kind of looks like a tall pumpkin. On the top of that, you're gonna make kind of a pointy flower. Just like that. And there's your cactus. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pencil one more time and we're gonna make an X up here because cactuses have spiky things. That's why we can't touch them. Then what I want you to do is after you make your first X, I want you to put your finger here. So that way you know that you're gonna put your next X under your finger. So you have some space here. Then you're gonna do that again and you're gonna keep going all the way down your cactus. So then we're gonna come to our second line. And you see where these two are right here? We're gonna go to the middle and that's where we're going to start our X's on this one. So you're just gonna put an X in the middle, in between each one of these, see? All the way down. So you're gonna come back over here, you're gonna make your first X, and you're gonna use your finger again to space out where your spikes are, because sometimes less is more, and we're gonna end up tracing back over some of this with a crayon, and I don't want you to have to trace over all these little X's. So now we are going to go back here again. So here's my two, and I'm gonna go into the middle of each one, right there, and continue your X's all the way down your cactus. So here is your cactus. Isn't it pretty? You got a little flower on top. So your next step is you're gonna take your green crayon. I'm using a dark green crayon. And you're gonna trace right back over your rainbow and your pumpkin lines. You don't necessarily have to go back over your X's unless you want to. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now, after that, I'm gonna take my pink or red crayon. You can take your yellow crayon, and I'm gonna trace over my flower. Just like that. And there's that. I'm gonna grab another color. I am gonna actually grab a purple crayon. If I can find a purple crayon. And I'm gonna trace my flower pot. Just like that. I'm gonna add some colorful little design on here with just the same color. And you don't have to do the same design I'm doing. This is just an example. Okay, so now I want you to take a blue, and you're gonna come right over here to the edge of your paper, and you are gonna make a line going across until you meet the side of your flower pot. And then I want you to stop, then jump to the other side, and make another line going all the way to the edge. Okay, so now we're gonna decorate our wall. This is our table because our cactus needs something to sit on, and I'm gonna make some wallpaper. And I'm just gonna make some waves. And I'm gonna put a little dot on each little part of that wave. And then I'm gonna do it again, going the opposite way. I'm gonna do more dots. Not sure how well you can see those. I used a pretty light color, blue. And keep doing that until you get all the way across your paper. Right there, do. And you keep going. All the way across. I'll add all my little dots in just a second. Dot there. I broke my crayon. Okay, so there's my wallpaper. So there we go. Okay. So now we are going to go ahead and we are going to open our paint, and we are going to start with our cactus. So get your paintbrush, make sure there's a little water on, you can dab a little bit off. and get your paint a little wet. Kind of mix it up a little so it gets a nice little soupy little mixture there. See? And what's gonna happen now is we're doing water resist and color resist. So once I paint over the top of my crayon marks, my crayon's made with oil and wax. And when you add water to oil, it separates. So if you've ever taken a cup and put water in it and then had some olive oil and poured a little bit in there, I want you to see what happens. Some of you might already know what happens and it'll sink to the bottom. So that's kind of the same process here. So once you start painting right over your lines, you're gonna see exactly what I'm talking about, and it's so cool. The kids in class today went crazy over it. So here we go. I'm gonna just paint. And see how you can see how nicely you can see all those marks that I made with that crayon. And as you can see, I'm just making nice big strokes all the way up my paper. I'm not rubbing it, I'm just brushing it on up. Because we don't want to make it too wet. Because sometimes when we make our paper too wet, it'll rip the paper. And we don't want to rip the paper. We want to keep our picture pretty so that moms and dads and grandmas and aunties can hang it up on the wall for you or on the fridge. And there is our green. Now the next part's gonna be a little bit more tricky because we're gonna learn something kind of cool. We are gonna talk about complementary colors. So now we're gonna talk about complementary color. Now here is an example of the color wheel. And as you can see, all color wheels go in the same direction. They go clockwise. And they go in rainbow order. So you have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So our primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. And when red and yellow are mixed together, they make orange. When green and blue are mixed together, you get green. And then blue and red, you get purple. So now I'm going to show you on your color wheel how you're going to figure out what its complementary color is. Now, if you look at your red, you're going to look directly across from it and you get green. So green and red are complementary to each other. When we go over to purple, purple is directly across from yellow. So that is complementary to each other. Purple and yellow, and then blue and orange. So that's how you get your complementary colors and figure it out. So what we're going to do now is we have drawn blue lines on our wallpaper. So what was the complementary color to blue? Orange. So we are going to paint our background orange. So dab off your brush real good, get all of that green paint off, and go ahead and dig into that beautiful orange color in your palette. And you are just going to paint up your wall. And look at how cool that is. You can really see your color separating from those blue lines on this one. It's such a cool little trick. You can even paint right over some of these X's because again, your crayon is going to resist that paint because it's based with water. You're using just a little bit of pigment just to make those colors, and the rest is water. I hear my doggies outside. They like to play with the neighbors' dogs and bark at each other. So be real careful going up to your red or your yellow, whatever color you made your flower. We're gonna paint that in just a second. If you need to get more water on your brush, that's fine. I've had to do that a few times. Now, as you can see, I'm still just making little strokes going up my page. I'm not rubbing over it a whole bunch of times. Just making little strokes. Here we go. All right. So I'm using a couple different brushes here. I know you guys probably only have your watercolor brush, and that is perfectly fine. So I'm gonna mix up some of my red, make it nice and goopy, and I'm gonna paint in there in my flower. There's that. I'm gonna pick up my big brush again, blot it off a little bit. And I'm gonna go into my purple now, because now I'm gonna paint over my flower pot. Look at all of that separating again. It's so cool. I love it. I love painting like this. There we go. There's our purple. Now, do we remember what our complementary color to our purple is? This is our last part. So our purple's complementary color is yellow. So now you can take your yellow and you are going to paint your tablecloth. If you want to put some kind of crayon design on your tablecloth before you paint, that's perfectly fine. My yellow is probably not going to show up real well because, well, my paper is already a little yellow. But you get the idea. There we go. There's your painting. Don't forget, once it dries, to sign your name at the bottom, and you're all done. I really hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did, and I can't wait to see what you guys create. I'll talk to you later. Bye.